Okay, I am going to address Kiriko because I think I have an idea in my head and I thought I'd get it out there. Now when I say fixing Kiriko, this is not a nerf. I don't believe in nerfing or buffing when the problem is the kit and how it interacts with the rest of the cast. The intention of this is to maintain her identity while also keeping hold of her accessibility, as Turner 6277 had pointed out. It's an important part of her kit. While also maybe giving her more options, and in turn, giving her more options, giving other people more options when dealing with her. So, to understand Kiriko, and when I had this discussion with someone in the comments in the other win rate video, Kiriko and Tracer are both frustrating, and I can admit to that. Tracer is very frustrating to deal with, but the reason why Tracer is frustrating to deal with, and the reason why Kiriko is frustrating to deal with, are two different reasons. But both of them are solved by the same solution, which I want to present here. But first, let me explain how that works. Tracer has a kit that allows her to be very versatile. She can use it offensively, she can use it defensively, she can use it reactively, proactively, whatever. Like she can use that kit in a variety of ways that can feel very frustrating. However, when she makes a mistake, she pays heavily for it and she's usually dead. Uh, Now, on the opposite end, you have Kiriko, whose kit is incredibly strong, but not very versatile, right? It doesn't have multiple uses. It has more single uses. Suzu is an incredibly powerful ability, but as I've talked about before, it is a reactive ability. Swift Step is a very powerful ability, but it's incredibly limited in the fact that you have to have a teammate nearby or a teammate in a good location to teleport to. The healing Ofudus are also very boring, straight up. Like it's just not an interesting mechanic. Um, so Kiriko's frustration comes from the fact that she doesn't have a kit where Suzu can realistically be used in an offensive or defensive way to sort of deal with Tracer. It's just sort of used as just like throw out your kunai. If it doesn't work, throw Suzu down to the ground. Keep, throwing kunai. If that doesn't work, just TP out. Now, the problem with this is it's the same reason why Sombra being able to TP immediately to safety was a problem on the DPS, right? Like old Sombra, she'd place her translocator down, she'd walk all the way into the back line, and she would harass supports and maybe get a kill, maybe she wouldn't, and then she'd just press E and immediately back on top of that health pack. Supports hated that, by the way, mind you. They were like, this sucks. We don't like this. We want you to change this. So Blizzard was like, yeah, we'll change that. And then Kiriko comes along and she's like, aha, I'm kunai in your backline. Ha, Suzu TP out. And everyone's like, well, that's just Kiriko. Like, so please understand the reason why everyone is frustrated with Kiriko, because once again, the same arguments we use for Sombra, we can use for Kiriko. The get out of jail free teleport is not fun, but what helped it was when she was able to teleport and you could see the direction she went and you knew it was a limited direction. So there was strengths and weaknesses there. But if a tracer goes up against a Kiriko doesn't feel like she has the tools to fight the tracer. And that's frustrating. And then Tracer, if she fights the Kiriko, at best gets Kiriko to use her cooldowns and TPs out. And at worst, usually she dies for it. Like there's a chance you could kill the Kiriko, but it's actually a very low chance. So uh, the risk of taking a duel with Kiriko is far greater than just not taking the duel with her at all. Like the goal for I have when I'm playing Overwatch, I'm on Tracer, is to get Kiriko to use Suzu so she doesn't have it, which goes to the one dimensional problem I've talked about, and then just leave. Because I know I can probably do more elsewhere, or just get her to use her abilities and whatnot. But all of these things, like the problem with Swift Step is it requires your team. And the problem with baiting Suzu and taking a duel with Kiriko and having her Swift Step out is that also requires her team, which goes into the whole other video about how it encourages you to blame your team because you need your team to follow up on this stuff. So I want to talk about like what I would do to change Kiriko's kit in order to um, expand it and give her more options while also maintaining her identity and accessibility. So let's talk about once again what works. Um, the the kunai, I'm not going to change. And I know it's cheap as hell, especially having a character that's got mobility as well as like kunai for damage because Zen's supposed to be the damage guy. However, I know how much you Kiriko players love killing shit. So I ain't touching it. All right. I'm going to leave that alone. And the other thing I'm going to leave alone, even though I think it's a little uncreative, it's part of the freaking cinematic. We're not touching the kitsune. Like it is a massive AoE, sort of free space. Give me alt. I don't really like it when supports all have them, but I will give it to Kiriko because it is kind of just part of who she is with the whole cinematic and everything. I don't think I can imagine changing that. Um, but this is where the rest of the parts get interesting. The healing of Ofuda's papers, uh, they just kind of like fly out automatically, right? They just like hover in space and they're very boring. And I I I want, a lot of the problems I hear about support players have is they're like, oh, we don't have agency, so we need Suzu to deny plays. It's just like, right, but what if we could change it so you could be more proactive? So instead of just throwing out papers and just holding, papers on your tank or on your teammates, you had a limited number, let's say 5, and, like, mind you, the numbers all could change, this is just a hypothetical. Those 5 papers heal over time, um, and on that heal over time, you could send a paper out towards someone. It could still automatically sort of go towards them, just like the papers do now, but you only need to send 1 out, and that 1 will heal a set amount over time, freeing your hand up to start throwing kunai reliably. So anytime you see someone taking damage, you could throw a paper on them and start throwing out your kunai. Uh, and it would be weaving in and out between the healing and the damage a lot more smoothly. Um, and also, if you, let's say they would just sort of recharge over time, but let's say you missed a healing paper and it went somewhere, it would just fizzle out and come right back. So you don't actually lose it. There's no punishment for missing, um, but there is, and there is still accessibility in terms of like making sure it's still not super difficult to hit the heal part, but the damage part is still there for you. So that's how I envision the sort of way of giving you the ability to do damage more, take more duels, and also not feel guilty about, leaving to do that damage. Like, right? Like your team is now in safe hands because you could be like, oh, you've all got a paper on you, and now I'm gonna start doing my thing over here. Right. So that's my idea for the papers. The next one is Swift Step. Um Swift Step is this one is simple. We're just gonna go omni directional. So you can TP up, you can TP down, you can TP through walls, like it will set a it'll be a fixed distance, and if you get the right, it'll get the right distance, it'll round up to either the collision past the wall or before the wall, and that way you can TP up through areas left or right, and this way, it'll be shorter distance, shorter range, but then you'll have more options in terms of how you play and where you want to use that. So you're not reliant on your team to use it, but also at the same time, the enemy team can be like, I know that I saw her turn and go left, like, or I saw her turn this way and go that way. So that way, Winston can jump on her, Tracer can jump, or Genji can try and chase after her if she wants. But one more thing to add, by making the Swift Step omnidirectional instead of like to an ally, I think this might have the desired result of keeping low elo players alive more often because they wouldn't be TPing directly into areas that might be getting them killed. It would still be powerful, it would still give a lot of control, but also they wouldn't accidentally be TPing to their death when a higher elo player wouldn't. So that's also something I kind of wanted as like a desired result from going omnidirectional like that. But yeah, that's the other one for Swift Step, which relatively simple in theory, in terms of uh, sort of how the technology or how it might work in game. I don't know. Remember, all of this stuff is sort of like a theory crafting, and in game development, everything needs to be tested, and because there's no guarantee that even these ideas might sound cool on paper, they might not actually work, or there might be technical limitations. That's the reason why it doesn't work that way or why it can't. So, but those are my ideas so far, right? Maintain the damage, keep the ult, heal over time, omnidirectional. Now, the Suzu is the one I want to get rid of. But it's not to say that I want to get rid of like the cleanse aspect, right? Um, we're just going to get rid of the fact that it's a defensive only ability, right? But we are going to change it. We're going to change it to still be a cleanse, but uh, it's going to be it's going to be it's going to provide you a more of a damage dealing tool as well. So these are dangerous papers or cleansing papers, whichever you want it to be. So let's say someone gets hit with an anti or hit with fire or something you can cleanse, and you have, I don't know, 2 or 3. I'll give you 3. We'll see whichever one plays out better. The number doesn't really matter. Once again, the number, the damage, how much healing happens over time, that's what balance comes in. I'm talking mechanics in terms of what's fair and what's not fair. So these papers, let's say Anna hits an ante, right? You can throw the paper on someone to immediately cleanse that, right? And that's sort of just like you're just negating each other's offensive support abilities. But now let's say that you see an ally or you see your tank getting low. You can throw your healing paper on them and like on his nade, if you throw it on them, it'll give them a little bit of that extra heal, the yellow health bar, whatever. You get them extra healing. Uh, but if on an ante's after that, then the ante takes precedent over that, right? So you have an option here. You can save it to cleanse ante, or you can give it to a tank or an ally or DPS or whatever to amplify the healing. But then here's the other idea, and here's the fun one I have. Let's say instead of tossing those papers onto um, your allies, let's say you want to throw them onto an enemy. Let's say instead you want to throw them at an enemy. Um, you you throw the paper on them, and any damage Kiriko follows up with afterwards. Like if you hit them with the paper, it does a small amount of damage. Hit them with a kunai or a melee, any damage at all from her, and it will explode the paper. Right now, this makes it a proactive ability that allows her to use it in a way where she can use it to defend herself from flankers. She can use it to help secure kills. Uh, and then also, like, let's say hypothetically, maybe the paper is one that you can throw on the ground and it's there for a limited amount of time, but like, or maybe it's there the whole time. I don't know. But you throw it on the ground, and if you throw a kunai at it from far away, you can still detonate it. So you can set a trap for someone. So then it turns into uh, a proactive ability, a predictive ability, and a reactive ability. Now it's got 3 options for you instead of just the one. And the one, which was extremely frustrating to deal with. And also, the problem with Suzu is it doesn't help players learn. It helps them get bailed out a lot of times of really bad behaviors. So this is supposed to give her a tool which helps people get out of bad situations, but not bail them out. But also at the same time, it's to give you an option, a way to uh, carry games yourself, a way to secure kills yourself, or a way to save your teammates yourself. Like there's so many different ways now that you can use these papers because now they're a damage, they're a trap, um, they're a cleanse, and and an amplified heal. But the thing is like it can I feel like it can have all of these options because of the fact that you'll want to use them all the time. If you want to use them all the time, you won't want them to sit there on sit in your inventory. You want to be throwing them out all the time. You'll want to be trying to find ways to secure kills. If you see someone step out of place, you want to be able to throw a paper at them and detonate them. Or if someone's around a corner hiding, you want to be able to throw a paper on the ground and throw a kunai to detonate it to try and secure a kill yourself. This is my way of thinking of like, hey, what do Kiriko players like to do? They like to kill shit. So why not just exchange some of the power of Suzu and give them more ways to kill shit? I mean, I feel like that would make us all happier. But this also means because of the fact that there's not a Suzu there to just negate things mid fight, um, you're gonna be motivated to use them, which also means people like Junker Queen will then might be able to use her ult more often, or maybe she'll see you use a cleanse on someone, so she knows you can only cleanse one person. Like now, the back and forth, which I was talking about before, opens up a little bit more. So, so this is like this is my general idea of how I would think I would like to see Kiriko be tested. Now, once again, this is all just testing, game theory crafting. And this isn't meant to be a nerf to Kiriko. This is meant to say, hey, how can we keep what makes you Kiriko players happy, but also and create and give you more player choice, but also give the rest of us more player choice when dealing with you. Because the instant, like, you know, throwing kunai, Suzu at the ground, TP out is as frustrating for you, for us to deal with as it was for you to deal with Sombra back in, you know, her old kit. So this, I feel, opens up and gives you guys a little bit more options. It gives us more options. I feel like this makes us all happy, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, I think I got it all covered. If if you think that this is a good idea, if you like this idea, let me know. If there's parts that you don't like, let me know. But once again, in terms of like how much damage it would do, or how much healing over time, or how many papers you'd have, like there there's different types of designers out there. Uh, ones that are really heavy on the statistics, which there's plenty of those in the industry, and then there's ones like me, which focus more on like the systems and the mechanics side of things. That's how I view it in my head, at least. Like I always just like to make really fun mechanics and then just throw them in the game. And then once I feel like they're working together, then we get the numbers. So don't worry about the numbers too much. Just focus on the system in place and how that would interact in the game, and how you would feel if you got to play something like that. Just test it out. Would it sound like fun to you? Are there other ideas you think you'd want to add or change? Like, let me know, because this is the one I think would this is the character that obviously I would like to see be addressed the most. But once again, I'm trying to make sure that the Kiriko players are as happy as the rest of us. So, yeah. Let me know what you think.